Hello and welcome to the channel. I am Dave, Gamers World resident magic expert, and today I'm going to be opening a Prismari pre-release pack from the new set Strixhaven School of Mages. Pretty excited to do this. One of my favorite times of year, every year in Gamers World, is the pre-release where we get a bunch of people in to play awesome events. And unfortunately, because of the world situation we're all in at the moment, we're just not able to play pre-releases. We've missed a couple. We've missed a Coria. We've missed a Core Set 1. We missed a Zendikar 1. And unfortunately, we're going to miss School of Mages again, which looks like a really cool set. But I couldn't go another set without building a deck. And I want to bring you guys, especially people who maybe have never gone to a pre-release, through building a deck and what I would do for it. This set, a bit unique. They've gone back to an old thing they did for the likes of Ravnica, and that there's 5 different pre-release kits. This is Prismari. This is blue-red. They call them colleges. We used to call them guilds. Back in my day, we used to call them guilds. And I think blue-red is one of my favorite archetypes to ever draft or ever play in limited. So this is the one I've chosen to show you guys. And I'm going to jump straight into it. Let's have a look. It feels good to have real magic cards in my hand for the first time in a little while, you know? I've always kind of liked their packaging, the kind of newer style of packaging. You always get a little spin down. Always these. And inside, ooh, I haven't seen this actually. I haven't opened any of these yet. Gives you a little guide on how to build a pre-release deck. Tells you how many creatures they think they recommend. This is a decent starter, but for people who are experienced in this, they know creature number doesn't always count. Couple spells and 17 lands is usually ideal. Give you a concept of what a mana curve is. And nice little art. They do such nice promotional art. They have over the last while, and you can get all 5 of these to build like a poster. Looks a little bit like, you know, theme park. I love that kind of stuff. Okay, so we have our packs. This one comes with 5 packs. If you buy off our website one of these pre-release, we also give 2 free packs with it because we usually give them out for prizes, but we're going to have them just given to you because they're given to us for prizes. Usually, you have your pack that would be your college. So this is going to be all Prismari cards. We got our pre-release foil, which they've changed the stamp for. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I think I much prefer the stamp. They used to have the full date, and now it just says 2021 with the little kind of shooting star promo foils used to have through it. And we have a, not an on-color promo this time. The Shine Shadow Snarl. The Snarl is the land cycle of this set, which I don't know if I'm impressed with yet. I think because the triomes are going to work out a little bit better than predecessors, but not my favorite. Let's open this up. You, of course, have your arena code. I would recommend everyone playing Magic Arena, especially if you're newer to Magic. Fantastic way to learn how to play. So let's open our... Ooh, get this. Open our Prismari pack first. See, we got some fixings, some of the cornerstone kind of commons. Some nice uncommons. And our rare, which is the Conspiracy Theorist, so just me and a card, I guess. Get some tokens, and one of the, this is for check card, for double face cards, so you can just write the title of what's on the double face card. This is when you have see-through sleeves. You don't want to be able to see that the back of your card is different. And let's get to cracking some packs, one of my favorite parts of Magic. Who doesn't love cracking some fresh packs? So what I like to do for these pre-releases is I like to divide by color. Look at the beautiful Mythical Archive cards. I love that art. And we got a Magma Opus. Fantastic. I like to divide by color. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our multicolored cards in their own pile by colleges. And then we're going to go divide these by their colors. And this is going to give us an idea of how much playables we have in each color. black, even though it might not look it. And we've got a white card here. And this is going to give you an idea of how much playables you have in each color, and that you kind of build accordingly. Now, with the boost we get from our Prismari pack, it's going to be very unlikely we don't end up in that. But because this is a multicolor set, we could end up in 2 or 3 or 4 colors. There's some fixing at the common land slot. It's also taking all my energy. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Not to call the colleges by their old names. So, again, old man shouts at a cloud. Back in my day, these were Ravnica guilds, and they were Boros and Is It. So that's hard for me. That's hard for me not to do, but I'll try my best. Is it Lorehelm is the other one, and that's the hardest one. Ooh, another on color Prismari command. We got Adventurous Impulse, fantastic. Again, this art is absolutely beautiful. I hope you guys can get a good look at it there. I'll be probably cracking a bunch of these boosters at home when I get a chance, because my god are these mythical archive cards absolutely beautiful. So again, we're just going to organize stuff like this. It's going to let us see where most of our playables lie, and where the most power in our colors lie. This card, I love this card. The Cultivator, look at the little derp turtle there. Maybe a card that makes me steer away from Prismari. Ooh, another card that might make me steer away from Prismari. Dramatic Finale, extremely good card in this limited format. So we'll see how that pans out, or see if that can also maybe be in our deck. Another archive card, this time a mythic one, in Mind's Desire, absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, probably not that good in limited. It will not end up in our deck. Still pretty happy to be opening it. Colorless and Artifact can go together. It's a very good card for limited. Make all those nice expensive 8 mana spells, especially that Magma Opus we opened, cheaper. Okay. Oh, that's kind of weird. Did you see this? So the lesson, this is some of the first non-virtual packs I've opened. The lesson rare is here. So we've opened a mythical triple rare pack here, where the lesson started at the start of the uncommons, rare lesson. Then we got the Ifrit, who is incredible. Again, this deck is going to be very good. Another rare to go with the college we've chosen. And a Doomblade, old school. Dies the Doomblade. Very nice art. And at the rare slot technically as well. So good old triple rare pack. Very nice. Shame I'm not playing an event with this, you know. Last pack. Very much I can look at this deck. There is a high power level, I think, in the limited format here, where a lot of the cards, like a lot of the packs, are going to have multiple rare power level cards, like we're seeing here again. A Compulsive Research, maybe not strictly a rare power level card, but very powerful in the rare slot. And a Plarg, my favoritely named card of the format. Very nice art too, very good card. Nice thing about these Deans, especially in limited. So I think a lot of people that are new will assume that you need to kind of be in white and red for this creature to be good in your deck. But I think in general, this card is just going to be very good as a red card in your deck. And some white decks will also just want this. 1/3 that gives all tapped creatures +1/+0. That's good. That's a good aggressive creature. And can just go in a lot of white, like white-black decks without needing to play the red side. So something interesting to keep in mind with these flip cards. So we've laid out all the different colors, and from here, I think we want to, it gets a little bit more complex for multicolor sets, but generally you want to pull out the cards you don't think are very good, that you don't want to end up in your deck, no matter what color combination you kind of end up, the unplayables. Now in Modern Magic, that's becoming less and less frequent to have unplayables in any color, but even if you want to put aside the cards you'd rather not play, even if you end up in the colors and they end up in your deck, it's not the worst, but in general, you'd rather not play. So, for example, I think Dragon's Ambush is an example of an unplayable in this format, or in general, that kind of style of card isn't amazing. And Start from Scratch, it's a lesson, so it's nice, you can tutor it up, but I do think this card would be a sideboard card only, which again makes it great as a lesson. And then there's stuff like these, the Wardens, which I'll pull to the back of the pile, which are good, but only in a very certain type of deck. So they're not definitely what's pulling you towards this, but what's pulling us towards red is some nice rares here, some decent removal in our Storm and our Heated Debate, and some solid creatures. Also, if we end up in Prismari, we end up with 2 Wardens, and they can get back our nice big spells. Our white, similarly, this I think is a strict unplayable, LSV. For those of you that know him on Twitter, has rated it a 0 out of 5 in Limited, and I'm inclined to agree it's not very good. Same here. As much as I like drawing 3 cards, I do not like when my opponent draws 3, so we're just going to put that in the Grumper. Get rid of that. The Professor of Symbology, that's a very great card. Learn is a mechanic in this set where when something says learn, when you play it, you can discard a card and draw a card, or you can get a lesson from your sideboard. It says from outside the game, but for those of you kind of new to a mechanic like this, when it refers to outside the game, for any kind of sanctioned magic, that means from your sideboard. But that still makes it very powerful and one of the better 2-drops. Though not that much depth in white, and our red and blue are always going to look better because we're in the Prismari pack. Black will quickly shuffle through this as well. Black has a lot of base level, decent, just playable cards. None of these are special besides the Doomblade. Green looking a bit medium, to be honest. I think we can dismiss green pretty fast. While none of these cards are atrocious, none of them are fantastic. And I think as a main color, it's just not going to cut it. We'll put this in our deciding not to play or trying not to play pile. Blue, just some solid cards. Test of Talents is a little bit too corner case, more of a sideboard card. I think Resculpt, we got 2 of them, and very niche. We're going to pull them out for the moment, though I don't mind if you end up playing a couple of them in your deck. Mind's Desire, as freaking cool as it is, and as cool as Desire is, not a playable card in Limited. You're just not going to get the Storm effect off a 6-mana card. Reject is fine. Again, a lesson that's fine. I don't mind having it, but strictly a sideboard lesson. Tricks are very good. Curate and Divide by 0 also good. Do any of our colorless cards lean us anywhere? Not really, though. Very happy to have these lessons. Like they have these introductory lessons. They're supposed to be the flavors. Everyone needs to take these lessons before they progress to like flavor, to choose their courses like a college would in America. But they just end up being quite good. Like their individual effects aren't strong, and you certainly won't want to start them in your deck. But as an option to get with your learn cards, incredibly good. And I've been very happy with them on a couple online drafts I've done. So they are going into their sideboard slot, but they are good. And I'm happy to have them in the pool. The Spell Satchel, I don't think is great. It's way too kind of intense into the spell kind of thing. And when you're playing sealed, you don't want to... It's not like draft where you get to choose how many spells in your deck. So this is very corner case, can be playable. We can get rid of that. Letter of Acceptance, decent. So our multicolor white-black cards are actually very good, but mostly because of Dramatic Finale, which completely changes the complex of games and is a really nice bomb. When you're building these pools, you do want to pay attention to that. You do want your overall power level to be good. You don't want to just make your deck very bad, except for when you draw your rares, you're like really powerful cards. But you do want enough of these powerful cards in your deck to be winning games and to be outpowering your opponent, you know? We've already kind of dismissed green, and nothing fantastic here as well, but this is very nice. Another really nice lesson. That this one I wouldn't be mind playing main deck, but again, it's blue, not only green, and getting this from our sideboard, we can almost put it in our blue pile here. It's a very good reason to be in. This is a really nice late game, especially in sealed, when you're both top decking and you both have a bunch of lands out. All of a sudden, you can learn this and make a 8/8/9/9, you know, huge creature that can really change the complex of the game. Complexion, even. I've been saying that wrong a couple times. Now, here we are. We'll leave Prismari to last, since we're pretty certain it's very hard, or you have to have a very interesting pool to not be in your chosen college. That's kind of nice about these pre-selected pre-release packs. Ooh, some interesting cards here. So Plarg the Man is very good. I'm actually going to put him over on the red cards here. As I said, I think just his red side is very good. I don't need to be able to play his white side. So I'm going to play him in red no matter what. But it's also nice, like if I'm playing red, it's pretty easy to have the white side as well. And some okay cards here. Nothing to write home about. I think Reconstruct History can be very good as well. But here's the juice. Here's what we've all been waiting for. The college we've chosen and the deck we are very likely to end up in here are Prismari cards. And I think they're very good. Yeah, all these are just nice and playable. We got 2 rares out of our actual packs, including what I think is probably one of the best cards in the format, and a stunning art. Look at it. Look at that elephant go. So we are certainly going to try and make Prismari work here, and seeing if we want to be a 3rd color maybe with it as well. So let's put aside our white and black cards. I don't think we ended up with enough of them really, though they are of a decent power level to really warrant it. But our white-red cards might still end up in the deck. And possibly we can be looking at some really powerful single color cards. So we'll have to see how our mana lines up. Or in Prismari's case, if I make a lot of treasures, because I wouldn't mind having this Doomblade in my deck as well. It's a very high power level, very efficient removal spell. And it brings me nostalgia of saying, but it dies to Doomblade. So once we've decided that this is what we think we want to do, we want to line out our curve and see exactly what cards we want. It's important in this format to know what lands you have, because I think, as I said, it's really easy to splash really powerful cards, or even be possibly 4 color. And we have some really nice fixing here, so we want to keep our minds on that. Magma Opus, fantastic card. I really like the mechanic in this set of discarding the Prismari. Get to discard these big expensive cards to make a treasure. 1 in Seal that allows for really great fixing. So if I play Doomblade in this deck with like 1 swamp, I can also have the option to discard these to cast my Doomblade off the treasure. And it gives this functionality. Everyone thinks it feels awful when you have a really expensive card in your deck and you just never get to cast it. And now it has this upside. It's not just stuck in your hand and never doing anything for the rest of the game, right? So these are probably going to go on my sideboard. These elemental summonings are good. Another big spell, an outburst. We'll see how many learn cards we end up with. Very important card to the archetype, the Mage, making all these very expensive spells a lot cheaper and more manageable. Been very happy with the battles here in the games I played it. And this kind of effect you might have seen before, people don't like, and this is the copy effect. And usually these kind of cards are bad and limited because they're expensive. They're adding an expense to your spell. But also when you don't have the spell, this isn't good. And even when you have the spell, sometimes the spell isn't worth copying, or you can't. They only have 1 creature to your removal spell. But because of Magecraft and a couple other factors, this has actually played out quite fine. I think some of the spells are so high impact, as you can see here, with the Opus and the Outburst, that this actually plays out quite well in the format. A little Plarg action. A little Plarg in there. Very nice creatures in this deck. Another summoning for the sideboard. The 5x0 has been very good for me in the format. Going with a couple more expensive cards in Snow Day. And you can see there's so many playables now. We're spilling over. I think the red-white cards are not going to quite make the cut, though we are going to look at Reconstructed History and see if we can get that in there. We're going to have another look at Doomblade and see if we can sneak that in there with our treasure makers. Okay. So I think the rest of these cards are not going to quite make the cut. I'm going to put them here with the other dregs. And we're going to line out our creatures here. So you've seen I've done it by curve. And why you need to do that is because you can't just have a deck with all 8 drops in there, as much as I wish you could. You want to have a nice curve, which means you're more likely to draw some early drops in your opener, and you need less 4 and 5s as the game goes on because you'll naturally draw them. So we're going to make a cut here straight away. I think we have a couple too many 4s in the deck, and I think that is the weakest for our archetype. Again, we're going to consider these guys. And we have a nice amount of creatures here. We have a decent curve. We maybe would like another 2 instead of a 4. But that stuff doesn't have to be perfect. It's limited. You do what you work with. You just have to work with what you get. And 2s aren't as of utmost importance. In draft and stuff like that, you want more 2s because you're afraid of an aggressive deck that's been designed to be aggressive running over you. But in sealed, you can't design your deck. Either can your opponent. So it's less likely your opponent has a bunch of 2-drops and runs you over. And these cards scale naturally poorly into the late game. You don't want 8 or 9 mana in play, drawing from the top of your deck. That little frog boy turn up. He's just not going to make a big difference anymore in the game. Sorry, friend. Where these 4-drops and 5-drops are naturally going to be better and have more lasting effects late into the game. So there's a balance there. The nice thing about our 2-drops, though, is both Theorist and Plarg play quite well into the late game, and we love 2-drops that do that. The rest of our creatures are just kind of great. We'll pull up the Warden here. He's very good in our archetype, sacrificing to get an instant or sorcery back. You can only do it at sorcery speed. He blocks for days. He's a 1/5 with reach, and he lets us get all these nice, expensive spells back, which is how we're going to be winning the majority of our games, I think. Spells-wise, these are kind of maybes. We already have a lot of cards here, so we're going to put these in the maybe cup pile over here while we consider it. But I think everything else is definitely something I want. You'll see cards like this, Pop Quiz, and I think a lot of newer players or players that like play once or twice a year for Prerelease, so we'll be asking, Dave, why is this good? I don't want to pay 3 mana to draw a card. Well, Learn is just such a strong ability. I think you have to think of it more like, would you pay 3 mana, draw a card, have the ability to either get, Fractured Summoning or this, or have a couple other good lessons? Do you want that flexibility? And even if you had no flexibility, even if you only have the summonings, is draw a card, get another spell for Spellcraft, or for a late game, big old fractal, good enough? And I think it is. I think it is the majority of the time, and has been very good. Lessons have been very powerful so far. All these cards quite strong. Again, this maybe not a card I traditionally play here, but works very well with my double striker for max damage and get to learn. Traditionally, cornerstones of limited. We have some removal here, and you're going to try and play your removal. What's good and bad removal? Well, that's hard to get your head around, and something you're going to have to play a lot of a format to know. Prismari Command, some of my favorite styles of cards. Speaking of good or bad removal, this piece of removal is sorcery speed and is a little slow for its rate. 5 mana for 5 damage isn't amazing. Doesn't kill everything you want. Does a bit of damage back to them, so good in aggressive decks, but I don't think it's going to make the cut here for us. Then we have these nice expensive spells. Magnum Opus basically reads win the game, and Snow Day giving us a bit of card advantage and slowing down the game to our pace. So let's count. We want to be running 17 lands here, nearly every time, even though we have some stuff like Opus that we can discard to make mana and Creative Outburst. I think those aren't what you want to do with the cards, just what you end up doing sometimes when necessary. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 creatures. A little on the low side for recommended usage, as it said on the propaganda here. 15 or 18 creature spells, but you don't need to run that many, especially if we're running a bunch of spells to interact with the board. But you do want to get a number in which it's reasonable to win the game and draw a couple. So 12 creatures here, 4, 7, 11, 12, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 spells for 24. So we want to make one more cut from this deck. I'm not that comfortable cutting any of the creatures. As I said, I want it to be like on the higher side, so maybe I'm looking at cutting a spell. If I'm going to cut a spell, as much as I like the learn cards, everything else is so much more powerful that I think I want to cut one of the learn cards. I think I'm going to end up cutting the study. As good as this card is, especially with my double strike card giving it trample, very nice combo. I think we're just going to win by casting these big spells repetitively with wardens. So this is going to go in the bin for me. And this is our deck. I think when the things we can think about here are running a reconstructed history which lets us get an instant and a sorcery back, and a planeswalker and an enchantment, though we don't have really any enchantments. We don't have any planeswalkers, so that doesn't matter. But this will let us get an instant and a sorcery back, which is very powerful in our deck. Though we don't, I think, have enough sorceries, only 2. We might end up running our 5 mana damage spell just to make this better. I don't think that's good enough. And I love Doomblade, but our fixing isn't fantastic. We do have 3 treasure makers, but we don't want to have to spend treasure, and we don't want to have to spend a full card to make Doomblade good. I don't think that's good. Our fixing, unfortunately, what you're going to find out with this format isn't great for this because blue or red doesn't go with black. None of the colleges are, there's no blue-black college, there's no black-red college. So you don't end up getting fixing. We only have it in red-white, which would be Lorehold, of course. So that doesn't end up making the cut. And all these cards can be sideboarded in and out depending, game 2 and 3, what your opponent's playing. And there's always little bits of nuance like that. Don't forget to use your sideboarding. Do think about what your opponent has and what you could play against them. And here I will also be playing both of my campuses. My mana isn't that intense. And what I mean by intense, there isn't much double or triple cost besides maybe the Outburst needs very specific types of mana. But I think the Scry one is fantastic. I think Sealed is slower, so having perfect mana is probably worth it. This is the deck I would have ended up with if I was playing in the pre-release. Lucky for you guys, I couldn't come play with this deck because this is fantastic and I think would have done quite well at an event, which I'm missing with all my heart at the moment. But thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing plenty more of this stuff, demos, reviews for games we like, and box openings. Leave a comment. Tell me which college you would have played and tell me if you're missing pre-releases as much as we are here. But until next time, thanks for watching and I'll see you then.